it creamy now. We're spreading on. Oh yeah. We're spreading on. Keep it creamy now.
Right, what's up, everybody? Welcome on this late Saturday evening to another KAGI Top Cut. We are in, I think we're still in the top 8. We should have checked that. But we've got Melismati versus Quickdraw. So we've already seen Melismati. They're also piloting the same deck. Sorry, I can't say pilot with Quickdraw in the match. Playing the same deck we saw him using last time. Really interesting CotA deck here with some control, lots of disruption. We saw that really take over in that last game with the subtle mauls and stuff. Shadow Storms to kind of make the game longer so you can get your disruption set up. And then a nice big Sanctum board here and just some really cool control elements with the routine jobs, oubliette, lots of different kind of toolboxy stuff. Welcome in Pinheaded Larry and Amber Media's Stunt Bunny. Good to see y'all here. Excited for this. It should be a really interesting match. And then on Quickdraw's side, we've got Guadalupe, the periodically spiky. This is one of Quickdraw's go-to adaptive decks. Really cool one. DT deck. Very awkward to use if you're not used to using it. Really low on the creature control, but got lots of tricks for kind of keeping the tempo, which tempo is super important. Welcome in, Mooseman dude. Let's see. Got a game up yet? Looks like not. So, man. Yeah. I feel like, I said this, yeah. It's really hard to know if these subtle mauls come down early. Like, this is just such an interesting deck because it feels like it's not very consistent. It can be really strong if it gets the disruption going early, or it can just fall behind and not have ways to catch up, especially when you have this fast of an Untamed on this side. We also have the Technobabbles, which are really strong against like this Sanctum board. So yeah, the double Shadow Storm is big, but you have to have some ways of like gaining Amber on the turns you play them. But they can really help slow down the game just to kind of really get stuff set up. Looks like I should have the game going. So I want to say Guadalupe is probably favored here just because it will probably be able to outrace this. The Shadow Storms, though, trying to remember how good of a key data forge this is, especially with the final analysis and stuff. I think that can actually come up pretty big, but giving this deck a lot of draw can be kind of scary, and I would imagine this has a little bit more on the board, but we do also have some artifact control, which would be really nice against the static collection array, which can really kind of take over a game. Okay, it is top 8. He's got that on there for us. Thank you, Quickdraw. go ahead and get in here, waiting for Melismati. The thing with this one is it's not generating a ton of amber. So like the eddies, the submersive principles are all going to be kind of slowing this down a lot. But I think this kind of, again, really wants to win through that disruption later in the game. Especially if you can zookeeper some of these untamed creatures, that would be really big. But there's not a way to ready the zookeeper on play. So it's got to be down for a turn. Ammonia Clouds is really nice for dealing with a lot of the stuff this is putting out, so those will be really big, but this is just going to get so much consistent amber, especially from like the Mecha Buoy. But there's just plenty of pips in here too. 18 pips is quite a bit. And Melismati, I wonder, so I didn't think of this last time, I didn't make this connection, but their nickname on TCO is Shattered Storm, and I wonder if that is because of this deck. I think this is a very like tried and true deck for Melismati's, and I wonder if it's because of the double Shatter Storm. Welcome in, Architect. Good to see you. We are just starting up game one. We've got Quickdraw on the bottom on the DT deck Guadalupe, and then we've got Melismati or Shattered Storm on the top, playing the admin of Sword Spears. And they're just saying here, the CotA deck will be going first, which honestly, I think CotA deck would prefer that. If you can get one of those artifacts, one of those subtle malls down early, that's pretty nice. Get some of those creatures down early too that make it trickier for quick draw to play creatures. Because again, like I don't know, that Zookeeper could be really interesting. I guess quick draw has some decent ways to deal with it, especially with the Techno Babbles, just to kind of keep it from getting too much value. But you're never really taking your archives in this deck, so anything that gets picked up by that is staying there. Mighty Lances are also like the perfect amount of damage for killing a lot of these things. Those eddies, the Bilge Wardens, a lot of the untamed stuff. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see how this match goes. Still think Guadalupe is probably favored just by sheer kind of aggressive amber generation, but we'll see what happens. Looks like they're probably deciding. Not sure what they're waiting on here, but should be good to go. Is this our last match of top 8? I haven't been. I've already gotten one. Oh, right. Bookends of the FFG era playing against each other here. They are two very different sets. Which is fitting for kind of the first and last. My mic down just a little bit. Yeah, CotA usually it's interesting. The roles are a little bit switched here, although the DT decks that kind of do well still are going to be pretty rushy. So thinking of some of like Murph's DT decks too, just some of the ones that are still doing it like are going to be pretty quick on the amber generation. Normally you would expect that coming from the CotA decks. CotA also had a lot of that like amber control, some decent efficiency, and just starting off turn 1 with a deep probe for Untamed, and we got one. We got the Mookling. But some information there. Looks like plenty of just going to be the Novu and then the Ethereal Conjecture to archive the top 2. But that Novu could maybe just start archiving more creatures from the discard, get this Mookling back, just to make for a really big Untamed turn. Doesn't seem like a bad call here. I think we saw, so in game 3 in Melismati's top 16 deck, that Deep Probe, they were able to hit that kind of twice in a couple turns, and that really swung the game towards the end for him. Okay, so it's an artifact coming down early, maybe not quite the one that Melismati was hoping for there with the Hollow Blaster. Considered to be one of the worst artifacts, one of the worst cards in the game. But you know what? It's not in hand or in deck anymore, so you don't have to draw back into it, and no artifact control in Guadalupe. So that is one kind of interesting note there. Yeah, we see the Logos call for quick draw. Just going to probably start doing some more archiving. We see the Data Forge get played. Do you archive the Data Forge? Yep. So Archives of Data Forge there. So going to start being a little bit aggressive with that. Getting the eddy down too. So lots of archiving here early. Really making that Data Forge a little bit more feasible. Unless there's some stuff in the archives that they end up having to take early. But foreign archives already gets you to 10, and Data Forge is plus 10. So that's basically a key cheat at cost at this point. Am I doing that math right? 16 minus 9 plus the pip, yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if they hold that archives for most of the game now. I'm not sure, Ambermedes, if this is one that can do like looping of the Data Forge. There's no like think twice or that kind of stuff. There's no what is it? So who is it? Linasu has the one that's really crazy where it can do like the phase shift into the Untamed card that destroys a creature and draws. I should be able to remember that one. And then can loop Data Forge on that one, I think. This one will probably be able to do it once, just based on the archiving we're already seeing going here. But so let's see. We did miss an Untamed turn there. We've got Witch of the Dawn coming down, Deepwater Gruin, Thin the Herd, but we do see that Shatterstorm just resetting Amber here for basically both players now. Got the combat pheromones down, so that's actually a really important one. Even if your Mars stuff gets stunned by those Xeno trainings, being able to unstun them on a different house turn can be really big. And again, there's no artifact control in Guadalupe, so this is going to be sitting there for the best moment to use it. A lot of times this card ends up getting used for just using your Mother Gun because it's going to sit on the board a lot more than your creatures might. But in this matchup, since there is less creature control in Guadalupe, good chance we get to see that actually get used on some creatures. So we got more logos coming down for Quickdraw, and Quickdraw choosing to play the Tide Warp. I'm trying to remember. This does have the Hydro Cataloger, so that's going to give both players archives if that comes down. Does this one also do... No, this one also doesn't do the... what's the eel called? Man, I'm struggling with names tonight. You guys are going to have to help me. Binary Moray. That can do some really interesting things with the Tide Warp too. Yeah, we got there. Thanks, though. It's late. It's a later game even for Quickdraw here. So we see Subtle Maul, routine job to steal some. We did see that artifact getting popped right away to use the bolter just to even shoot itself, just to gain a little bit more amber. But Silvertooth also coming down for some... Oh no, this killed... What it may? No? Killed the Bilge Warden and purged it. And then the Poison Wave did that 2 damage to it. And then Silvertooth getting some amber. So getting a little bit of some burst here on Melismati's side. Going to try and maybe force through that first key. Tide Warp also taking the Tide away from Quickdraw. Which is okay this turn. Because Melismati is not quite at check yet. I think if they were on check here, it'd be a different story. That would actually be kind of painful if you need to play like your Lieutenant Valmard or something. I still didn't remember that Untamed card. What's the one? Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts. I keep thinking of Thin the Herd, but Waste Knot. There we go. Linus' deck has the like Waste Knots. It might be 2, and then so you make really big Tall Mage Steel Hearts, and then you can destroy them with the Waste Knots with Phase Shift, and that lets you just draw a bunch, and then you play a bunch, and then you play a Final Analysis, draw a bunch more, and then you can just start looping the Data Forge. I think it's a Data Forge in that deck. I don't think it's the other one, Honors Kiesis. Okay, so we got a beefed up Shieldulator here, both with Teresa and Stunner, and then a Captured Amber there. So we'll see if Melismati has any good ways of killing that. That Teresa makes you really want to kill it, because now if Quickdraw plays any creatures of either house on either side of it, he'll be able to use this guy too, because of the Teresa. And then that Stunner starts getting really annoying, especially once you start getting the Xeno training or Technobabble is coming too. We do see the static collection array. Not going to be a factor next turn because Quick Draw is only on 4, but that does start making it even tougher to. I mean, really, it makes it so you almost can't play around this anymore. You just have to deal with your opponent maybe forging on 5, but just every other turn because taking the tide just doesn't help you. Ooh, see a shoulder armor coming down on the bolter. So that bolter staying alive for a while could actually also be pretty big. See Lady Maxina stunning the shield you later is a great answer to that. Because this can also take out things like the Chelonia. Hollow Blaster, getting value. I said it was worthless. And it healed a Mars creature, which is the best thing you could do to keep your Mars guys alive. Alright, so we see an infighting there. Not doing too much, killing some of those middle creatures. Taking the armor off Lady Maxina, and then we got a couple untamed creatures coming down. So able to unstun here, but not getting any more value out of that. Going to 7. So here's where it's really interesting. So Quick Draw has the tide for this turn. So that means on his next turn, he will lose the tide, which means he will be forging for 7 if Melismati doesn't answer that. So it might be worth it for Melismati just to not answer it on purpose, to tax rather than let Quick Draw wait another turn and be a check at 5. Yeah, confirmed. Hollow Blaster. Too strong. How dare you heal 2 damage from a creature that you damaged yourself? Can't cover up what you've done. All right. We also saw the Fittest coming down. Just getting some creatures out of range of this bolter damage, which is actually relevant for this youngest bear. So starting to push the creature control on Melismati's deck. We'll see what happens here. The Lady Maxina can come back down and do some more stunning. Looks like it's just going to fight instead. So that could be a Mighty Lance. Or it looks like we got the Sergeant Ezekiel. If that's going to be a Radiant fight with Maxina. Could do it with a Bolter, but the Bolter gets smaller if you put the Ezekiel next to it. So kind of a tricky one here, but you might as well just double fight here. Oh, I wonder if they were thinking of how blastering first to keep the Maxina alive. That would be 2 turns in a row that that card was relevant after I said it was worthless. A little bit of connection issue from Quick Draw, or maybe just refreshing, but I think Melismati's just trying to decide what they're doing here. Would be unfortunate if that was not the sequencing they were hoping for. But yeah, just decides to take out the shield Gelada there. Terms of Redress is going to stop the key anyways. Capturing 2 onto that Sergeant Ezekiel, but wouldn't have mattered. Well, yeah, it does matter. Just can't deal with the blaster value. All right, Quick Draw going into Starlines here. There's one of those Techno Babbles going to stun the Bolter. Big question here is going to be if Melismati gets to Forge. If they do, this could be another Shattered Storm, which would be really rough for Quick Draw. A couple more creatures coming down. We do get an off-house creature next to that youngest bear, so next turn that can start getting some extra reaps in. Doc Driscoll. It's not going to be much to heal. You got Skirmish on your one thing that's probably going to fight here. Let's see, we got Shadows instead. There's going to be the second routine job, stealing another 2, and then Subtle Maul discarding the Chelonia. That is a massive hit. And I think we missed this, but Quick Draw did take the archives a while back as well. I didn't catch which turn that was. But that means he's also been holding that Data Forge for a little bit. But Chelonia getting discarded there is rough. You really want that down with a bunch of these other untamed creatures. We know the Deepwater Gruin got reshuffled back in, or one of them was reshuffled back in by the Thin the Herd. But really importantly, taking Quick Draw off that cheaper key, that 5-cost key, able to stop that there is really big. So now next turn, even if he bursts here, it's going to be taxed for 7 regardless. And Melismati going up to 4 for second key here. Oh, there's the final analysis. So if you're Quick Draw, do you keep bursting here and risk a Shatterstorm, where you just go to 7 and try to just fill the board a little bit. We're in Logo, so this could be a Data Forge here, which would actually be a cheaper Data Forge. Looks like he's playing stuff out instead. You would have played it before playing the Eddy. So it might be that Data Forge that was just archived. Really big Talmage coming out, 9 power. Eddy, of course, will tax anything if Shattered Storm goes higher, but we do see the Mars call, so this will probably be a Shattered Storm. Blowing up all of that Amber on Quickdraw's side, kind of resetting them. Yep. Pretty brutal. And this is where, we've got the one subtle maul down. If we get that second one down, ooh, orbital bombardment too. And then the ammonia cloud's going to finish off that Eddy. Not quite able to take out the Talmage, but Talmage's not going to be able to fight into that Uxlix. So Zookeeper now online for just trying to do more. We do have the Mecha Buoy down, though, which is, again, just one of those things that is going to be that ticking time bomb for Melismati to deal with. But Zookeeper also kind of an issue. We haven't seen Volmart yet, so Quickdraw playing the Volmart here could be really risky. Don't want that to get picked up. Probably have the second Technobabble, though, to just stun this. Yeah. My double Memorialize isn't allowed in GR. Yeah, that would make for a very slow game. Thing is, Melismati's actually getting Amber from this Mecha Buoy too because of the Tide Warp, so it's kind of a double-edged sword here. But just choosing to get some more Sanctum stuff and then getting that Gorm down. Really going to be interesting to see what you hit with the Gorm. It feels like it would be the Static Collection, and you really want to do it right after Quickdraw has shuffled, so this is like perfect timing for this. There's the Witch of the Dawn, so this is probably going to grab that Chelonia. Especially since you just got the free Tide. Yeah. So a little bit more burst here and getting a big board. We have seen both ammonia clouds go now too, so running low on the creature control on Melismati's side. Should still have one more of the mighty lances. But yeah, lots of the creature control that would actually be really nice here is gone. See the deep water Gruins coming down too, so big burst there from Quickdraw. And that's again like where even with all of what this deck is doing, what the admin is doing, there's still just a lot of enough burst that it's going to be hard for this to kind of consistently do that. But we'll see if this is enough to get kind of close to key 2 here. Is going to get taxed to 7 because of the Tide Warp, so kind of don't even have to worry too much about dealing with that. We do get the Uxlix unstunned along with killing that Chelonia with the Orbital Bombardment, as well as the Talmage. Okay, yeah, so got the 7 cost key and then got an Amber off Mecha Buoy, keeping them at 4. So this, yeah, kind of surprised Melismati didn't use the Gorm there. I guess because the Static Collection was already going to tax and maybe saving it for the Ulfbrit device. But like this deck doesn't seem like it needs to go to the same house a ton of times unless you want a Shattered Storm. So we did get a reshuffle, but actually not able to call Mars here because Mars was just called. So this 8 Amber is looking like it might do a lot. Quickdraw using the Biome Discovery to get the Tide, so he will lose the Tide again at the start of his turn, so it will be another 7 cost key, but it's really a 6 cost key because of the Mecha Buoy. Going Shadows. Gonna Gorm Mecha Buoy. Okay, so that's some of that consistent Amber generation. Just gonna let the Static Collection rate lie there. Ooh, we do see Poison Wave. Why did the Poison Wave not deal damage? Why did the Poison Wave not deal damage? Oh, 3 armor. Oh, because of the Bulwark. I was like, I know there's the Grey Monk for 1 armor, but the Bulwark is given another 2 there. So Quickdraw does get Key 2, which is pretty big. Again, not being able to stop that with another one of those Shatterstorms. Not really keeping the game as slow as you want here, but you do have a pretty nice setup. You have a lot of this Untamed stuff is on the board, which is where it's actually getting almost less value than if you're playing it because these Amber Pips and stuff. But we do go back into Untamed anyways. Gonna get more creatures down and probably just reap a bunch here. Force Melismati to use one of those Shatterstorms, which will take them farther away from check as well. Giving some Amber to him, though, with the Deepwater Gruins. I guess Quickdraw's just kind of assuming that the Shatterstorm has to happen here. Or it's not worth changing the tide, but I don't know. Oh, actually, that's going to be a key because of Safe Place. That's a pretty risky one there. Because you also know you've got a Steal and a Reap here, and then you could Shatterstorm for 2. Yeah, it takes the tide there. That's too late. All tied up is more Amber, but yeah, if you got the Shatterstorm here, it's gonna be a lot of trouble. Especially with all these archives happening, it's pretty likely. But yeah, giving up the key there, I think is especially if you're planning on changing the tide anyways. I guess you just wanted to make sure it was less of a Shatterstorm, but I mean you're already doing 6 just by reaping with the Uxlix, so I don't know if that was worth it. We'll see. Has to have found it. What other answers? I mean, if you got Key is going to cost 7 here, so you only need to stop 1 Amber for this turn. And they went they went Shadows last turn, so could be sitting on like a routine job and not able to play it, which would be rough. The Elfbird device kind of doing its thing. Also can't Seeker Needle, can't use the Subtle Mauls. And there's, so it has to be Terms of Address, Raiding Knight, or Shatterstorm. I think are your only 3 cards that get you out right now. It's pretty brutal. Oh, actually, all you need to do is Reap with Mars, and you actually take them off key, so... Problem is that means you're not playing Shatterstorm next turn, so hopefully they have it here, but we'll see. Definitely taking a long time, so really thinking through how they want to do this. There's going to be some different sequencing we could see. We got the Mother Gun out there too, which at this point, Quickdraw can't go back into Untamed next turn, so you have 1 turn to basically ignore the Untamed, so you probably want to take out that Volmart. You probably want to be careful about what you archive here too, because now that the Hydra catalog has been down, you actually have archives you probably want to pull as well, so you don't want to put something in there that you're actually happy to give back to them in hand. So you probably just pick up like the Emiliobi or something. Problem is, going Mars here, you're also probably not getting to check. So you're going to have to kind of also have an answer next turn, because, well, yeah, Quick Draws. Again, there's just so many pips and stuff in here. This deck will probably get the check next turn. Even if you Shatter... Well, if you Shatterstorm... Maybe not. But wait and see. Melismati taking their time, just making sure they're doing this correctly. And this is top 8, so lots of marbles on the table here. Ulfbert Device is such an interesting card. It's so hard to know if it's actually helping you or just hurting you and your opponent, and you just hope like it's hurting you a little bit less. But like if you're quick draw and you can just use this Board of Untame again, that seems really good. But you can't now because of the Ulfbert Device. But when there's really specific like creature or amber control, it can be really nice to lock them out of those houses if they kind of have to pick that house just to handcraft. Quick draw disconnects a lot, so he's just gonna make sure things are still happening. Okay. Looks like, so my guess is that was a question on whether or not to take the archives, what they were sitting there thinking about, which means there's probably like one Mars card in archives, and maybe it's Shatterstorm. Maybe they're deciding whether or not it's worth playing the Shatterstorm here, but we'll get a good look at what their turn's going to look like right now. There's an Ammonia Cloud and Deep Probe. So they are just going with the Steel 1 to stop the key there. And Ammonia Clouds wipes the board. Deep Probe for Logos gets Novu and Eddie. But we do see the Submersive Principle, but you don't really want to play that here. Final Analysis is only helping Melisma here, so not even going to gain Amber this turn unless they have a card in Archives that's going to do it. That's a really big turn for Melisma here. Going Starline, so that'll probably be, yeah, another Technobabble. So now in Shadows or, well, even in Sanctum, you have to have Raiding Knight and Terms of Redress. In Shadows, you have to have both routine jobs. So yeah, because now the key cost will be 5. So you have to get 3 down, and you can't Shatterstorm this turn because of the Ulfbert Device. Called Shadows has 4 in Archives, though, so there's a good chance you actually have what you need here. And then you get to start Subtle Mauling this hand, which is already getting hit by chains. Shadow Self. Umbra. There's Subtle Maul. There's Routine Job. You have the second one? Oh no. Doesn't have the second one. Just barely. Huh. Yeah, that Ulfbert Device is pretty I mean, we don't know if they had the Shatterstorm there, but good chance they did. So like, you know, it's so hard to know if they should have just played Shatterstorm last turn, but I feel like, you know, they're trying to get some momentum themselves. Looks like we got booted, so we'll wait for game to come back up. But I mean, it's so tough, especially after seeing Quickdraw's hand. You really didn't think it all came down to that one card in Archives, basically. Which I mean, it didn't because you could still only get rid of. Yeah, they still only got rid of like one Amber there, so Go away. Sorry, I get the dumb, like, do you want to save the password every time I do a password game in TCO, and it drives me nuts. Yeah, that was a very interesting end game. It's still very tough because I think what we saw the Gorm target hitting the Mechabui is probably still correct, but you would just have to think so much about that off-grid device when you rely so much on a specific Amber control card like Shatterstorm. Um, you really have to plan your turns out like a turn or two ahead. But we're on to game two. Quick draw starting off with the Umbra. Yeah, so I think the Sanctum, it got hit by Final Analysis, and then there was also the play where they could have healed the Lady Maxina before the second fight and didn't, so the Lady Maxina kind of killed itself, maybe unnecessarily. There's the Mechabui coming down early, Eddie getting some archives going. Final Analysis hit the Umbra, so using that just to kill the Umbra could mean we get a bigger Sanctum board this turn. And chooses to manually take the Tide there. Yeah, and so we see some of the big Sanctum stuff coming down right away, which that Final Analysis is one of your bigger cards to hit it with, unless we see a Thin the Herd here, which is really relevant before there's bigger creatures, or before there's too many creatures on the board, but we just see the Untamed creatures coming down, so probably not. It is a few Untamed creatures, and again, if you're a quick draw, you have to kind of be dealing with those as well, but right now, like a Ammonia Clouds does all you need it to, right? It deals 1 damage to Bulwark and kills everything here. And you might just Gorm the Mechabui at this point too, just to get rid of it. Orbital Bombardment is just going to do random 2 damage, and then we do see the Ammonia Clouds there, wiping the board of the Untamed creatures. And there goes the Gorm hitting the Mechabui. So we're going, yeah, there's the Star Alliance. So we're at least going to get some slowdown on the Sanctum here. Both Technobabbles, though, so that's again more of your creature control gone. And then a Biome Discovery, which if you'd have waited 1 turn on taking the Tide, you could have saved yourself some chains there too. But just trying to get cards moving, trying to get the Amber generation going. And the Biome Discovery discards a second Eddie. And then we see the Stunner get discarded, not wanting to put that on one of their creatures. Shadow Self coming down is pretty big. Safe Place and Secret Needle as well. Safe Place, we only saw that later in the game, but again, there's no artifact control on this side, so that Safe Place is actually a very safe place for Quick Draws Amber. Do you see the Chelonia coming down with the Miliobi? So getting to check here because they took the Tide. So having the Tide here early, even without the Tide Warp, is working to their advantage. You almost still wanted this stuff to get killed so that you can do an all tied up or infighting. Infighting here really doesn't do much because of all this armor and then the Shadow Self. Quick draw, thinking about what they're doing here. I mean, probably this question is, do I answer the key or do I kill the Chelonia? Which is a pretty tough question. Especially now that Melismati's back up to a 6-card hand. There's the Shadows Call, though. Oh, we see the Oubliette purging the Chelonia. Routine job. We're going to steal 1. Silvertooth coming down. Going to get a little bit more Amber here. Shadow Self will be able to reap as well. And then we'll see Secret Needle and Safe Place. Start doing some ping damage to that Miliobi. Still not a check, though. Topoli, welcome. How's it going? We are in game 2 here. Shattered Storm or Melismati is now running Quickdraw's DT deck, and Quickdraw is on Melismati's CotA deck, Admin of Sword Spears, and then this deck is Guadalupe, periodically spiky. We saw Guadalupe narrowly win game 1 there. Really with Ulfbert device kind of locking Melismati out of Amber control. Now we've got an interesting game. So Melismati getting key 1 there, right at 6 Amber, but kind of has a board to deal with again, and we've seen a good chunk of the board control already gone. So kind of in trouble here. Again, that thin the herd would be best answer you can find at this point before you get more creatures on the board, because your creatures are going to be smaller than most of these. There's the Tide Warp coming down. And the Tall Mage. I still wonder if Tide Warp is... I guess it's correct. It keeps you from having to have like a chain war when you have the Static Collection Array down. You kind of just know you're going to get it every other turn rather than having to kind of hope you can keep it or letting them take the tide. All right, so we got another Orbital Bombardment coming down. We've got Combat Pheromone, Shatterstorm, Dominator. So both of those Shatterstorms may be getting discarded here. Pheromone's coming down, Dominator. We'll see. All right, chooses to chain themselves with both of those. Which kind of puts... Ugh. I'm guessing that's because he's holding 2 Shatterstorms. Maybe meant to discard one of those. Untamed Call here. Oh, Witch of the Dawn. So that could bring back the Mookling, I believe. Yeah, there it does. So that will stop the key here, just making those Shatterstorms that much worse for another turn. And still going to stop the key even with this Amber on the safe place. So really nice answer there from Melismati. Just kind of dealing with some of that board, getting your taxing going, and really just trying to keep him from getting value from those Shatterstorms. But I can't. Kind of surprised Quickdraw didn't discard one of the Shatterstorms. Having 2 of them is not super useful most of the time. Yeah, cough for 1 second. All right, we got Dusk Runner coming down on the Shadow Self, going to steal 1. Going up to 8 Amber and getting another Amber on the safe place there. So this would be a key for all 8 because the Mookling is still alive. We could see, what is it, the Fittest? I don't think we've seen the Fittest come down yet, so that could buff the Mookling a little bit. Make that key cost 9. Or you could just play a Volmart and stop the key again anyways. Just still making those 2 Shatterstorm chains that much more painful. But you do need to start gaining more Amber on Melismati's side to really start the pressure there. Getting some armor on the Mookling and Xeno training for some capture as well. So starting to force some creature control for Quick Draw. We have seen 1 Ammonia Clouds. There's still a decent amount of creature control left though. Both Orbitals are gone, Oubliette's gone, but we still have like the Poison Wave. We still have another Ammonia Clouds. And then both of the Mighty Lances. Ooh, Grey Monk, gonna give some armor to everything, and then getting some extra armor off the shoulder armor. There's the Mighty Lance. Yeah, I'm just gonna take out the creatures on that side. Not dealing with the Mookling yet. Getting some Amber back. And getting rid of the Volmart, so not gonna be able to tax quite that much this turn. Uses the Combat Pheromones just to unstun the Dominator. Pretty good body to be able to swing into the Mookling next turn. This is becoming a tighter spot for Melismati. We haven't seen Submersive yet, have we? That could be also pretty brutal here. Eddie doesn't quite stop the key on its own. We still have it. Oh no, both Eddies are gone. So not a ton of Amber control left outside of the submersive. Volmart's gone, Xeno Training's gone. Mookling's on the board. You could Fittest the Mookling. Yeah. So unless you have very specific stuff, this key is probably happening. So you have to kind of think about. Ooh, we do see the Logos turn though. There's a Bilge Warden taking the tide. And there's the Submersive. So stopping that key again. But can you push to check before Quickdraw does here? Quickdraw already has having the 2 Amber on safe play, so basically just needs to kill this Mookling to get into check. Melismati getting back to 4 there, but not getting to check. So Quickdraw went Sanctum last turn, unstun the Dominator, so you really don't want to go Mars yet. Even though Mars, you can kill this. But then you probably don't have a good follow-up turn to make more Amber to actually get use out of the Shatterstorm. So yeah, we're going back into Sanctum here just to have a way to kill that Mookling while still handcrafting towards a better Mars turn. All right, second Mighty Lance. So that is most of the creature control gone. There's another Ammonia Clouds. I guess there's a decent amount left. Ammonia Clouds and then second Poison Wave still left. Gets a Bulwark down for some more armor because this board needed more armor. Not getting any Amber there though, so whatever he wants to Shatterstorm with, he's going to have to generate on his Mars turn, which he can do by killing this. You can get a little bit. There's the Static Collection Array, so going to start pushing that lower key cost. Teresa coming down. Going to let Talmage get used on this turn. Going up to 6 Amber. Yep. And then the Tide will be back, so really it's going to be a 5 key cost next turn for Melismati, but you got to imagine at least one of those Shatterstorms is coming. There's an Ammonia Cloud, gets you 1 Amber. And then you can Reap with the Dominator to get to 2 here. Yep, and then you Shatterstorm for everything. Play the Mother Gun. So reset the board a little bit. Really close to a redraw, though, on Melismati's side. So, again, if we can draw back into that final analysis, that will really kind of get things back on their side. Seen on Tame turn there for the infighting, which is going to kill the Shadow Self. Really big getting that off the board and getting that Grey Monk off the board to just remove some of that extra armor. More Sanctum coming down though. Again, just really trying to press this board advantage. In terms of Redress, capturing on the Dominator. Dominator is very difficult for this deck to kill. Still just both decks kind of just chipping away at each other now after that Amber reset. But we did get the deck flip here, so we could see some more of those stunning coming down. There's the Elfbird device, which still torn on whether or not that's good. I guess it probably won the game last round. But it's a tricky one. Shield you later in Cheetah. Okay, so just kind of trying to keep drawing. Getting some creatures on the board. Shadow Sterns are going to start hurting though with 1 Subtle Maul down. There's the Poison Wave, routine job. Subtle Maul discards a Hydro Cataloger. And going to sneaky check there because of the Amber on the safe place, but it doesn't matter because we're going to go to 7 anyways with the Silver Tooth. So really big Shadows turn there for Quick Draw. Yeah, that's really big. Going to 6. Or It's really 7, again, because of the safe place there. Again, we did get the flip deck, but we'll see what options they have for dealing with this. Ideal hand here would probably be not Untamed. We're going Untamed. Gonna kill the Silvertooth. Okay, so this is probably gonna be a Thin the Herd. Just to get some stuff off the board. Still doesn't deal with the Dominator. So there's another way to kill this, but we just saw infighting, so could be back. Plays another Deepwater Gruin. You don't get to shuffle both of those if you play the Thin the Herd here. Yeah, you're only getting one back. This one will stay alive. Interesting there, but it is some board cleanup. But that is going to be a key for Quick Draw, who only played one of the Shatterstorms too, so second one has been chaining him like almost this whole game, which is kind of crazy to have Shadow's turn like he did while still holding the Shatterstorm. Goes back into Sanctum, gets the Lady Maxina down for a stun on the Deepwater Gruin. Sergeant Ezekiel probably gonna go for the fight anyways because you have the heal from the Hollow Blaster. And a Raiding Knight for a capture. Yep, there's the Technobabble. Gonna get some stuns again on all of that Sanctum stuff. Biome Discovery for some Amber. But still not at check even with the Static Collection Array. So Quick Draw kind of probably able to just keep going wide on this board. Which then even if Melismati finds the final analysis, like at this point when the board gets big enough, oof. We see the Deep Probe only hitting one creature with the Talmage, but going for Logos there. We see Meliobi, Interior Conjecture, Submersive Principle, Technobabble, Talmage, Steelheart. Okay, so decides just to play the Shatterstorm there to destroy 3. So we know that one is gone, but they're both about to get shuffled in the deck because Quick Draw is going to be flipping here. I see more creatures coming down. And we know there's no final analysis in hand because we just saw the hand. Plays the Theory of Conjecture to archive. It's Data Forge. I think you hold the Submersive here. Doesn't feel... Oh, just goes ahead and plays it. So both players losing 1 Amber. Yeah, I mean, it's just like as soon as DT is in the game, you basically just like, I don't know, if you play a lot of DT, you kind of just autopilot to big creatures on your right, little creatures on your left. But all this Sanctum armor really helps minimize that infighting effectiveness, which is where it kind of has to be the final analysis here. But having just done a Logos turn, could have gotten archived here. We'll see. So board keeps getting bigger. Not gaining a ton of Amber yet, though. Or really not gaining any Amber because you're just unstunning creatures. But this is a lot. This is a lot to try and deal with at this point for this deck. Go back into Star Alliance, so could see the second Technobabble here. We know Thin the Herd is gone. Yeah, there's a Technobabble on the Mars. You know they actually can't go Sanctum again because of the Ulfbert device. So that's where the Technobabbles, again, just get so much better once the Ulfbert device is down because, like, you have to wait before you can even call this house again, and then all you're doing is unstunning them when you call that house. Quick Draw gets back into a quick deep probe on the redraw, which could be pretty nasty here. I imagine you goes for Untamed. So we get Meliobi and the Moogling. So Moogling, not relevant quite yet, but never something you want to see get discarded too quick. You still have the Witch of the Dawn, though, which can bring it back. But we see still no... well, we got the infighting in hand, but infighting, like you just said, Empermedes is really not doing much against this board. It'll put damage on a bunch of stuff. It'll kill the Grey Monk. I think it's the only creature that would die to an infighting right now, which feels pretty rough. Orbital Bombardment is just going to take out the Dr. Skull. And then you probably just discard those Morning Clouds. Especially since you won't be able to call Mars again even next turn. So I think a lot's going to come down to what is in archives here for Melismati. So we know their hand is basically just Infighting, Nova Archaeologist, all tied up, and Mechabui. So we see the logos. We do see the archives get pulled. Is this going to be... No. It is just going to be more handcrafting, getting that Mechabui down, try and get some momentum, but that Mechabui is actually giving Amber to Quick Draw here too, so it's a really tough spot for Melismati at this point. Again, I think it's crazy how one card, but having that Vial Analysis as like the turn one play has just been so brutal to come back from. You've just been fighting this board the rest of the game. Sorry, missed it here. We've got the Sanctum Call, just kind of dealing with some board stuff, making the Uxlix that much tougher to kill. And reaping out to 9. And we know Submersive is played, yeah. So we've got an Untamed turn. I don't think Untamed is going to stop the key. There's the Infighting and Water Ruin. Yep, bunch of creatures. Don't quite do it. And there you go. Quick Draw taking it down 2-0. That was pretty rough game 2. Yeah, it is a very cool CotA deck. Obviously, I was criticizing Quick Draw's holding of both Shatterstorms, but it seemed to have paid off. So much of it, I think, was just being able to kind of keep and maintain a board, really force Melismati to kind of deal with that. Yeah, definitely a patient game. Even though like that first key was really hard fought, right? Like it took him so long, but we knew that the Shatterstorms were just waiting for that. And Melismati just not able to get to check for key 2 through all that. I think if they do, if they are able to get to check for key 2 before Quick Draw gets that key 1, it's a very different game, because then you can start being a lot more aggressive and not caring about the board as much. But yeah, just wasn't able to get there. Losing the Mechabui early to the Gorm of Om was also pretty big. That would have been a lot of value, especially before the Tide Warp came down. They're talking about a lot of stuff really quick. Shatterstorms are really good. Saying he held them for a long time. Yeah. Huh. Good games though. very good stuff. Again, I think Melismati said it in here, just loves playing with some of these lower, like 60s SAS decks. It's just a lot of fun, lots of interesting stuff, lots of kind of situations you don't normally get to deal with in the higher level deck kind of games. So that's why we love adaptive, right? Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for watching, everyone who's been hanging out. It's late. I need to go to bed soon, but always glad to get these in when I can get them. Yeah, saying that the creature control in Guadalupe is one of the toughest things to kind of balance. We saw that with the final analysis going early, but also like Quick Draw being able to play around the infightings pretty well. Trying to think what some of the really bigger plays were. I mean, that one Shadows turn where right after Quick Draw did the first Shadow Storm, he had like a 5-card Shadows turn. That was pretty big. That also took Melismati off check. I think that was also a really big kind of momentum maintaining. I think he kind of already had the momentum there, but that was the point where Melismati needed to get momentum back, and that turn just really, really killed the chances of that. Yeah, this turn. Poison Wave killed some stuff. Routine Job. Silvertooth. All right, so there you have it. And like I said, does anyone know, was that our last game in top 8? Me, I'm gonna open. I don't want to spoil it for everyone, so I'm gonna try and open this on a different. We've got. Oh no, that was the last one. Okay, so we can show this here. Yeah, that's the last one. So now we've got our top 4. So Fabulosing versus Quick Draw. We saw Fabulosing pull out a pretty crazy win against Algernon. It was yeah, really intense kind of artifact control game. That game 3, really good stuff. Holy Stew versus Mooseman Dude. Holy Stew, we got to see play against Amber Meaty. Amber Meaty streamed that one themselves. Some interesting stuff. And then Sith Vangmar versus Mooseman Dude. Did I cover that one? I might have covered that one too. Yeah, I covered that one. That was yeah, just a couple days ago. I remember those decks. Oh yeah, that was a Vault Master versus an AOA, and that game won. Mooseman Dude really stole that game. Definitely go back and watch that one. That was a really cool one for sure. But 2-2-0s, 2-2-1s, each one coming into this. So these will be some spicy games. I'm really excited for this to see these semifinal games. So be on the lookout for those. I don't know when those are going to happen or if I'll be able to stream them or not, but I'd love to if I can. Otherwise, check out whoever else is doing those, Amber Meaties or Fudgenator if they get any of them, or even Quick Draw if he does his own sometimes. But I think we're going to cut it off there. Thank you all so much for watching, and congrats again to Quick Draw and to Melismati getting this far. Everyone who's gotten to this top cut, obviously, doing a great job this season. Unlike me. No, it was a fun season, but I tried to experiment too much with my decks. I just need to go with what I know. So maybe next season. But yeah, thanks all for hanging out, and we will see you next time. Take it easy.